So looking at Alice Springs and the surrounding region there, you can see the main points around Alice Springs there. Here's Alice Springs there, and we've got Alice Springs Desert Park just west of there, roughly between the township and the highest point over Alice Springs, and that's Mount Gillen. In fact, Alice Springs Desert Park is down below the heavy tree range which Mount Gillen is a part of, down some 300 metres below Mount Gillen, about 600 metres above sea level there. But the other interesting points around Alice Springs from that geological point of view there, of course, you've got Wiggly Gorge and the waterhole there. This is where the Todd River flows through and down into the Alice Springs township and through and out through Heavy Tree Gap and starts to head out towards the southeast and eventually empties out into the top end of the Simpson Desert there. Joining that, of course, we've got Emily Creek that goes through the gap, and of course we've got the other creek system that goes through Jesse Gap and then down eventually into the Todd River there. So you can see this beautiful line going from Jesse Gap all along westward through Emily Gap, Heavy Tree Gap, and of course Mount Gillen, and then down towards Honeymoon Gap there. Honeymoon Gap is where the Roe Creek ballfield ends up into down south here, and of course we've got Roe Creek that goes through Simpson's Gap. So that sort of gives you an overview of the surrounding important geological points around Alice Springs there. But it's also worth pointing out there that ridge there is the south dipping flanks of a large mountain range that was formed 450 to 300 million years ago during the Alice Springs orogeny there. The corresponding northern flank you can see over here, the vague outline there, part of that is the Euro Ridge, which you can clearly see from Alice Springs Desert Park there, and pointed out earlier that these would come up to the peak of quite a extensive mountain system there. Just where I'm running the hand along there would have been the peak of that mountain there, some 4,000 metres above us. An interesting point there is you can notice there is another line of ridges along here, and that's a part of the Blakisdyke range system. This line here actually used to be some 14 kilometres north from behind Euro Ridge along Simpson's Gap and up around Wiggly Waterhole there. It's quite an extensive overthrust system there, so such was the force of the Alice Springs orogeny in this particular event, pulled all this material from the north and threw it over and south, and that's where it all ended there. So it gives you a sense of the power of the mountain building of the Alice Springs orogeny that created this particular features there. 300 million years later, you get a sense of still how powerful that was.